Well, a guy has flown to beautiful rural west central Wyoming where I bought this 1965 Dodge Polara Convertible flavor. It's been off the road and non-running since 1992, or 32 years. The guy's gonna try to get this fired up and not only back on the road, but attempt to drive it 1,600 miles back home. Kinda need to. That's what I got. Should be fine. No, there's no top. It's probably gonna snow and rain and hail. So real quick story how I ended up with this rig, and then I got to dig in. Not only do we have a lot of work to do, we got a lot of miles to get under the belt, you know what I mean? I'm actually at my friend Jason Sack's place, and I met him on Summit Midwest Drags years ago. I'm a big fan of his race program, Cowboy Up Nova. It's actually up on the wall here. Just a gorgeous show car that's insanely fast. But he was offloading this, and I just reached out and said, I'd be pretty interested in that if you could hang on to it for a while. And boy, has it been here a while. So he's actually putting me up. There's a little apartment in this garage here. That's great, saving some money there, and I can work early and work late on this thing. But he told me that he got it from a local guy. He used to run a Napa store, and he started digging in, trying to rebuild this thing kind of on a budget. Looks like someone sprayed it with some single stage. Someone redid the interior in the late 80s, early 90s. It's never seen the light of day. It still looks pretty fantastic, and I could tell because there's a small hole in the roof here. And then Jason himself snagged some new rubber on it a couple years back, and I think he said he rebuilt the engine. And by that I mean, you know, a custom Krylon cam and some Rust-Oleum rings, and Craigslist rebuilt that thing pretty good. And then a couple brake lines or something like that. So we've got a head start on this thing. I didn't have to mail out tires. That was nice, but it doesn't run. He's never heard it run. He's never cranked it. We don't know if that works. We don't know if the transmission works. We don't know what the rear end's doing. I don't have another fuel tank. Hopefully that's not rotted and rusted out, but let's walk around this rig. It's a really decent 209 footer, which I don't have really. So, you know, hopefully we can get this thing running and just Tommy boy this thing all the way home if we get into some weather. I didn't even bring a jacket. But anyway, let's see what we're working with here. You know, from 119 feet, it still looks pretty good. The paint looks like a single stage enamel or something. But you get close, you can see all the orange peel. You throw a marble on this thing, it ain't gonna roll, but maybe we could doll that up if we can get this thing back home. Like I said, Jason threw some tires on her. Cupacaras, white letter out. He knows the deal. That was a couple years ago. He said, you're getting low on wind and the sidewalls is turning white, but they got tread on them and they ain't dry rotted, so we're gonna run them. Got some brake parts laying here. We'll investigate that. Looks like parts all along here. Lightning hoses, stuff like that. But someone definitely was trying to bring it around. I see some of the trim was beat out with the sledgehammer, stuff like that. Glass looks to be in pretty good condition. That's really nice. We don't want any air or wind leaks in the vehicle driving home. We're going to be going through some weather most likely. Oof. Got a chip. Uh-oh. It's shiny enough, makes me nervous. Grill's in beautiful shape. All the Dodge letters are there. We got headlights. Don't know if they work. All the hubcapilators is on. Oh, we do have a rock chip here. No big deal. We've driven home with holes in windshields. This side looks equalish. Oh, we got a piece of trim missing on this side. Wonder if there's a refund on that. Probably not. Back looks good. Kind of a coronet-ish looking rear, kind of reminds me of that. We got dual pipelators, ignition sticks, all be dipped. This one I actually have a title to. believe it and or don't. Oh, by the way, trim piece. There it is right there. And this must be the one that came off the car. Does not look as gooderish as the other one. I would say let's open the door and look in, but there you go. You know, let's actually start the trunk before we dig into the interior there. I don't know how to get the top down and all of that, so you guys can see. Ooh, lots of parts. We got radio edge. Oh no, that means, do we not got tunes? That's a long drive without tunes. Oh, here's the top, I think. I'm pretty sure this is the top. It's got a bunch of holes siliconed in it, so it's perfect. Maybe we can wrestle that back on with some C-clamps or something. The old surround in the rear thing that holds the, when it, and then you, I don't know, convertible language, okay? We got a plant box full of trim pieces and bumper bolts. Got an extra letter. Is this an O? Oh, that's a D. Don't know my alphabet, I'm working on it, okay? Here's the snappy screw buttons for the thing that, in the back of the, for the surround thing. Carpet kit, well, I'll just bring you in here and you can look. I was kind of worried about finding all the convertible pieces, but I think they're all kind of right here. I'm assuming all this got ripped off when the previous feller went to paint. This looks like all of the felts. I think that's supposed to be an R and an L. Almost looked like an S. So all that's here. This looks convertible toppage, see? So does this. They got holes in it and mice have been in them. The trunk looks recarpeted. Looks like interior Berber. I like it. High traffic. You need that in the trunks. Okay? Start putting high traffic in here, not just standard shag or something like that. But they even painted the underside of the deck lid. Might have even put a new rubber beep booper in here. Someone was really getting after it. Of course, they had to leave the farmer's insurance, which is a symbol of superior service. All right, well, that's that. Let's go ahead and clamber around on the inside here. You know, for the first time ever, we might have a vehicle without a particular smell. It smells like pine wood, Folgers, and a little bit of methanol. We've got a contaminated scene. I think that's just the garage and what I'm holding. That's great news, though. We don't have to air this one out with some wind. It's pretty neutralized. Wow. Even without the top, this could potentially be the nicest car that we have. Which also worries me now, because what if it does rain or snow? We got to protect all this stuff. Oof da me. Big block, LS, and methanol. Every guy's Christmas list, basically summarized next to a sushi slicer. So anywho's, let's get in here. I don't want to spill my coffee. I'm learning a bunch of stuff here with nice cars. Look at this interior. It is like a microfiber chamois that someone nicely diamond tucked. Looks like we're missing a crankalizer there. More high traffic with the heel pad. Everything matches. It's the same color. There's no blankets laid over anything. It says 34,609. Boy, I don't know. This is going to be a tough one. This is so old, this is cracked. You're not really going to see wear there. We just slide in. Unique gauges. And the steering wheel slop. Oh, we do have a radio. Tape player. FM. All right, we're really going to be partying. Might need to be finished wired there, but we'll figure that out. Pretty neat interior. We got some parts here. Heater hoses. Looks like rad hoses. Guy could always use them. Oh, hey, look. Ignition things. Lightning cap, or that might be a whole whirler I can't reach. Polara. That's the trim holder honors for the captain side in the back there. So I think we got all the parts to make this thing, you know, a whole. They almost went all the way on the paint, and then they went ahead and just right over the tag. I'd do the same thing. It's fine. So this part back here, see, this is a new piece, but it's not, you know, attached in any way, shape, or form. What is this? Oh, look at that. Oh, I think on the nice rigs you throw these over the fender so you don't scratch up the paint. You know what I mean? You don't want to draw on this stuff. You're just making scratches. Okay, so that's this. Now we've got to dig into the power bar, and there was multiple different flavors that came on these rigs. A little tight up here. You know, because Dodge, they gave you 75,000 different engine and transmission options. I believe these came with a manual on the, you know, the old bolt action on the tree. This one has a 727 auto, and you can get a 318, a 383, a 413, a 426, or a 440. A lot of you just got excited. Wow. It has been Craigslisted. This is a 383 with the 727, which I am really happy about. We've had nothing but slant 6s and 318s. So this is a get up for sure. And Jason did a great job just cleaning this thing up. Looks great. Come over here and check this out. So I'll share a picture what this used to look like that Jason sent me. He stripped this down and did the rebuild on it. And it looks great when you pop the hood, but you know, you look close, you could see that everything's basically just been spray bombed, but man, it did change the look of it. Looks like it's ready to grip, but no, 32 years, this thing is not fired. Just been sitting here. Got some hoses unplugged. Looks like we're missing some belts. Ooh, that was kind of sticky. Hopefully that hangs in there. Looks like fuel pump might be not doing things. Must be some ignition issues. That is clamped in. I don't know where that goes. Got an old battery in here. A Maxis is. We might as well pick up a new one of them because I don't got a battery charger to boil this thing, which every good project starts with a battery boiling. And firewall's been fogged down. All of the wiring, thankfully, so we can't tell what color anything is. But it looks like we got completage, you know? Rads in it. New rad cap. Ooh. Looks like the shoreline of the Mississippi in there. We'll pretend we didn't see that. Dual horns. I mean, I don't know what else we need here. You know, it's looking pretty snazzy. I do got to make a run to town, so I want to check everything over first so we can get everything we can when we go in. We are in rural Wyoming. So the least amount of trips to town, the better. I'm going to take the air filtration system off here and see if we actually have a 4-barrel. I'm not a mopar expert, but I thought these came with 2 barrels. It is a 4. Oh, it's a Holly. He must have put that on there. That's not computing in my head correctly. But at least we know that fuel make it happen or will work. It's not locked up. It does have a choke. Manual choke. Huh. We might just let that alone. You know what I mean? If Jason's got it on there, there's a reason. Okay, so I think we should start by putting some sort of device or tool on the crankshaft. Let's see if this engine rotates freely. He says he has not turned it, not done any of that stuff. So I want to make sure this thing is loose, spinning over free. Then we'll probably run into town, get a lightning cube, a bunch of juices and stuff like that, and then see if the key runs the ignition, if the Dolphin crying machine works down there and turns the motor over, you know, all the wiring and everything like that. And then we can move our way through the typical stuff, which is spark, fuel. It's got sparkulators in it. I think ignition is going to be our biggest thing. There is a fuel pump here. Could grab one just in case. Okay. All right. So we know what we got going on here. Let's go ahead and lift this up. We'll crawl underneath of it. Take a look there. Make sure we don't need anything like a U-joint or transmission pan gasket or something like that. Start in the rear here and work our way forward. We do have a tank in the thing. The outside looks decentish where the, you know, the coating protective stuff fell off. I really hope that's in good shape because I ain't got nothing else. Ooh, we got air shocks. That might air up. Nope, that's fine. Probably not going to need them. Yep, we will at some point. Let's see. I don't see any brake lines there. I think he said there's a wheel cylinder replaced in that. Oh, we got gyps. We got glass packs on it. U-joint is there. Sure. Look at the exhaust crossover. Also a drive shaft loop. Nice. Boy, the floors in this thing are absolutely pristine. Look at that. This might be a very low mileage car. If it's 130,000 some miles, then someone really took care of it. I don't know what that is. Seems fine. This is, you know, mopar or no car. They couldn't figure out how to get transmission and drive shaft vibration out of their vehicle, so they just started adding random things to their drive shafts multiple times over the years. There's our shift machine. Might have a speedometer for once. Overcomplicated shift linkages and everything. Check. That seems to be there. Oh, there we can see some of the yellowing on the block. Why yellow? I don't know. Looks like it was a night shift engine at 11 o'clock. So that's good. You want them late night motors. They really pay attention when they build them. Nope. Everything down here seems fine, quite honestly. I mean, what we'd expect. Looks like pretty much all the bushings and tie rod ends are shot. We'll pretend we didn't see that. There's the new drums. So we got new drums on the front. And a new rubber brake line. So that would explain the drums on the lift that we saw. Hard lines look like they're here for the brake system. Hopefully those don't pop. But I don't see any pockets of rust or anything that would give us the feeling that they're gonna break. Normally if there's a bunch of dirt and stuff built up behind them and it sits or gets wet, you can almost guarantee yourself they're gonna pop off right there. So I'm not gonna get any brake flare parts or anything like that. Is that factory welding? Whew. Done with the stick welder. Looks great. Okay. All right, got a big old socket here. Gonna throw it on the crank. See what we get. Oh. Ooh. Got a little bit that slipped, but it did rotate like a 1/16 of an inch there. Yeah, it's rotating. Oh, I hear compression. Yep. Phew. Okay, we should be fine there. The engine rotates pretty darn good by hand. It's got quite a bit of compression, which is a great sign. If you could just spin them over super freely and you've got sparkulators in. Uh-oh. You might be down on the compressions. That might be a newer master cylinder too. I did ship one of these, just in case. Okay, I think we're gonna run to town in my rental, which isn't a rental. My buddy actually loaned me the sweet C10, which is really nice. Saved a bunch of money there, and there's nothing better than driving an old truck. And we'll get pretty much everything that I think we're gonna need to get this done. And my buddy just said he's gonna have a car show tomorrow night, impromptu little small car show gathering here. Wouldn't it be rad if we can get this thing fired up and back this out into that show? I think so. That's gonna motivate me to, we gotta get going, and maybe we'll leave early the following morning, and then we can just try to cannonball this thing. We gotta go all the way across Wyoming, Nebraska. There's a bunch of states there. I don't know which one is first, and then we end up in the end of the Tennessee. Anyway, let's go to town. Check this beauty out. This is our wheels while we're in town here. Good running old truck. Look at the snow-topped mountains. Different kind of beauty out here. Well, guys, stopped at the parts store here. I think I got everything we need. Trying to limit my trips to town here because it is an awfully long drive, I'll tell you that much. We got lightning hoses, picked up a fire extinguisher, some zip ties, aeronautical devices, hoses, all the juices. I got a couple cans of brake clean, carb clean, transmission clutches, fuel jug. We'll get some gas, got some rags, battery, drain pan, oil, and coolant. So hopefully that'll do it. Now I just got to figure out where to get gasoline around here, and we'll head back. Guy found some gasohol, filling up the truck, and then we'll fill up the jug and throw that in that fuel tank, and hopefully that works. We really need the additional capacity. We can make it on jugs. We've done it, but it's a pain in the rumpus. I ain't kidding you. Got to thinking, today's the guy's birthday. And out here working in Wyoming on an old mopar. Not bad. Hanging with you guys. No complaints. Get this stuff filled up, and then we'll head back to the ranch. We got to jump right in, get this thing cranking over, and then we're going to work on spark and fuel immediately. I got to hear this thing fire, because if it doesn't, it is very doubtful we're going to find a running 318 or anything out here to swap in its place. There is a lot weighing on whether that thing fires or not. Guy's going to start off with a lightning cube here. Okay. And kind of disappointed. I only got a go handle on whatever particular case the Superstarts is. But we'll make her work. I'm going to keep these. Better not throw that one in here. There's things abound. Let's see. I think I got it so the posts are this way this time. Flipped her around, you know. Yep. Yeah. Hopefully the starter's in good shape. Then you want to bang these on. It's really good for the posts. There you go. Use a hammer if you can, you know, really get it on there. Now, I did get a new SAD cable instead of this guy. We'll put this in the trunk just in case and because. Set it there for now. Yeah. Uh-oh. Found it. A little bit different when I do these longer trips. I try to do a little bit of preventative stuff, believe it or not. I said it, okay? Never see that wrench again. Because doing some of this stuff on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere on a Sunday, 3 o'clock in the morning is not goodlier in a lot of cases. So if a guy can, don't touch those together. If a guy can take care of it now, mazel. I think we're going to do that when we get to the ignition on this instead of messing with points, which have worked fine for many years. But again, if I burn a setup or something, we'll talk about that here in a minute. I want to hear this thing rotate with the key first. And once that happens, we can move on to sparkles. Battery's hot, we learned that. Yeah. And I think we're going to take that right here to the head. Looks like that's probably where that goes. Is there fresh metal underneath? Yes. Okay. Otherwise I'd just scratch on it with the pocket knife, you know. Let's bring it around this way, so we're not jamming it through the fan blades. Something like that. I'll tighten this up and then we'll grab the keys and see what happens. Okay, ignition stickage. I think we're good and clear up here. Nothing's gonna spin like the fan. It's in park. Key going in. Nothing. Completely dead. No dummy lights. Headlights. No headlights either. So we got a wiring issue now. Great. Got a steel me junction up here I'll have to look at. What is going on? I'm going to have to try to find a digital meter. See if I can figure out why we ain't got no power to nothing. Or maybe there's not even a starter in this. But I don't see headlights, I don't see dummy lights, anything like that. Great. Grand. Here's a battery charger right here. Oh, it's just a maintainer. Maybe I could have saved that one. Let's plug it in and see. Still got the caps. We can return the other one. Aha! Headlights on. I always leave the headlight switch on when I'm troubleshooting main electric. Doesn't mean they're always going to work, but it's a good indicator when you're working by yourself. Anyway, there's a wire that jumps from this lead that comes from the lightning cube over here. Oh, we got smoke. Lots of smoke. That wire's getting really hot. And now I got this so tight. Uh-oh, I gotta get a wrench to get that off before we get a fire going. So we had a wire burning up in here. This one is hot and licoricey. Still smoking a little bit. That's the main wire that feeds the fuse panel. And it was not happy. So I think we're gonna have to start by digging into here and probably replacing this with a heavier gauge or see what's going on. It's wrapped in a bunch of digital tape. But that was also the issue. What I was getting at was I just wiggled and shook that a bunch and boom, it came on, but then she started smoking up. So also, does that mean our engine ground to body is missing potentially? We got to start looking at stuff like that. Huh, this is loose, just sitting on there. Hey, we got rockers. That's good. I'm sure the other side's the same, so we're going to need hardware. These valve cover gaskets, we'll try to reuse them. I believe these valve covers were on when he got it. Must have just took them off to, you know, put new head gaskets in. Anywho's, I'm going to try to find a trouble light and see how all this stuff here goes together. Well, I got that wire rassled out of there, and this is what it looks like. No wonder she was burning up. There's only a couple strands left. So it wasn't holding any load. So I'm going to go over to the other shop, find something similar to these connectors and a bigger gauge wire, and try to piece something together so we can loop this back over. I could jump this right now. Mopars are just like Fords. They put the steel me junction right up here for you. So all you have to do is hit this wire with 12 volts. Starter turns over. Run 12 volt to the coil. Boom! But I want to get the key working, make sure everything works semi-correctly-ish. It'd be nice not to hot wire this thing, and that also makes the coils really hot if you're going around the ballast resistor and stuff like that. So be back in a minute. New little wire whipped up here, so I'll beep, plug this in, and then we'll throw the battery back on again, see if we let the smoke out. Which one of these did I undo? What was that one? Well, that wire is all plugged back in. Everything's connected, so let's juice this thing up. See if we get smoke again. Headlights on. And fire test. It's going much better. Don't see any smoke there. Let's just doubly check. Why, there's a gaggle of wiring in here. I'm not seeing any smoke. It's got load on it. Okay, well, guess we got that taken care of. Let's get back to seeing if this thing will crank now. All right. I think I will jump it with a wrench here just to see if it rotates. Then I'm going to go in and use the key and we'll try it there. Come on. Yeah. Boy, she's pretty tight. Rotating. It's full of oil. It smells pretty old. I'm going to move the battery boiler over to this unit because I have a feeling we're going to be, giving her the cranks. Okay, let's try the key. Key crank. Coming in lukewarm. Hip. Yes. What was that snapping? Is that the coil jumping or the points? Ear meters on high alert. Let's try it out here so I can see. I got the key on so we're hot on ignition, allegedly. I don't know what that was. All right. Engine crankage, albeit not very fast goodlier. Now, oh yeah. Oh, maybe that's what this was a homemade, it was. This was for the Holly, which I just remembered. I don't have any fittings for that. Shoot, I missed that on our parts store run. Anywho, we'll deal with fuel a little bit later. Let's move on to sparkles. So guys, just sitting here kind of going through things in the order I want to do this. And some call this a plan. I guess I just call it jumbled thoughts, essentially. I'm going to go ahead and run into town now. I just got back, but I'm going to have to do it sooner than later anyway, because once we figure out spark, we're going to be right into fuel, and I need delivery to this Holly on here. So I also need a Lone Wolf 6000 because we're going to be pulling this Lightning Weather out and putting something else in its place. And I need this at top dead center. So that way I can look at the timing marks while I'm clicking it over by hand. Can't quite reach. Kind of dug around a little bit for some wire I could just touch together, but I don't want to dig through his stuff. So let's run in, get fuel delivery for that, get a Lone Wolf, and I'll think on the way there, whatever else I can maybe grab. Back from to town once again. So I was able to get a charging weather belt, picked up some sparkulators. I think we're going to go ahead and replace them since we got so many miles to go. Most importantly, a Lone Wolf. Ha-ha! So now I scratched the timing tab off that was painted to get to 0. I'm going to spin it over until I can see the timing mark, line that up, And another thing you can also do, which I probably do just to verify, I got to pull them out anyway. Get all the sparkulators out. Stick your finger in the number one, turn it over. When you feel the compression stroke, you can then use the timing mark to verify that you are coming around to the compression stroke and you're not 180 off. So let me get some tools, start pulling these plugs out. Got all the sparkulators out. They're all the same, no physical damage, which is great. Running rich for sure. A bunch of seeds in here. I'll show you what that's from. I was leaning over taking them out, and a guy accidentally touched my two leads together and spun this thing over while I was pulling out a sparkulator. Look at all the seeds that came flying out of the combustion chamber. They're everywhere. Now that I got all of them out, we can spin it over some more and see if we can get more seeds out. I'm glad I pulled those out. Instead of mashing them into the valves, hopefully they'll just come out the sparkulator holes. All right, let's see what we get. Oh, loose connection. Let's see what we get again. Still loose connection. Well, why was it wanting to go on its own, an accident? And then a guy gets in here and wants to do it on purpose. Oh, for Pete's sake. We got a loose connection here now. Let me take this apart, see if I can fix that. Well, the guy just took this apart, double stacked them. Hopefully it's gonna work now. Let's see what we get here. Yep. Oh, wow. Well, there's no question mice were living in this engine. I don't know if the intake was off or the carb was off or what's going on here, but I've seen that before, or the valve covers are off maybe. And unfortunately, I lost the motor on that one. They built a mouse nest in the pan that I wasn't aware of, and it sucked into the screen. Whew, no oil pressure. Hopefully that's not the case here. I guess we could see if it's building oil pressure while we're at it. That'd be good. Let's see, I'm losing tools here. Boy, she is dry. Dry. Where did I put my trigger? There it is. That's really cool. Did you see that? So I've been talking about this for years, but I can't remember if I ever did a demonstration, maybe on the new builds. But your push rods spin, and if your push rods don't spin, that's a great indication that your lifter is either smoked or you're wearing a cam lobe off, because the way that they're machined, that lifter actually rotates in its bore and takes that push rod for a rotation ride as well. And here we just saw a rust spot, and you can see that push rod rolling over there. Unfortunately, it's dry up top. We're not building much oil pressure. Assuming it's probably just got to spin faster. At least that's what I'm gonna say for now. I think I got most of the seeds out of this thing. Goodness gracious. I might spin it for just a couple more minutes, take the other cover off, just gander at it, and then we can start moving towards the process of putting this on top dead center. All right, let's see if we pop this side off. Whoop, we got live wires on the charging whirler. They are not hooked up. I have to remember that. Dry over here is. I just said they were hot, Derek. What are you doing? I don't know. I just thought they would bend over there. Anyway. Let's try this. Got one over here not rotating. Why are you not finalizing? I'm talking to you, hey. Ugh, the Leatherman is all but broken. Okay, we got oil now, both sides. That is great news. Sorry, Jason, I think that's going on the floor. No, we got pans underneath, good. Okay, so we'll build oil pressure. We've primed the system, which is great. The way that these Earl filters are in the front, you can't fill them up. So it's nice to have the system primed. I'll try to squeeze a little bit in there, but when you change the oil on these and you fire it, it takes a few seconds to fill that filter and get that pressure back around. So having that lubrication up top and in the journals is nice to know it's there, I guess. Oh, I didn't stop and pick up hardware for the valve covers. Great. Trip number 74,912 to town. We're going to need that before this fires because we are going to have oil everywhere. Okay, anyway. I'm just going to set this back on, try to slow it down. It was a good test. I do have a little concern. We've got a stuck lifter on the drinker side, but some high RPM blasts might bring that back around. Okay, now, can a guy stick his face down here? There's the timing mark. Let's see if we can find a marker. Mark that so we can, and then I'll stick my finger in that sparkulator hole over there and just confirm. I have marker magicked it. Whoa, easy. What is going on? All right. Nothing yet. Just passed it, nothing. Building compression, so I know I'm coming up on it. Now I'll just grab the engine with my hands, rotate it over, a little bit more, just a tickle more. Okay, there, we were at top dead center. There's a misconception that there's a particular spot that one should be on the cap, and that's really not the case. As long as your camshaft and crank are in alignment and you're at top dead center, you can drop a lightning whirler in and make whatever number one you want, really. As long as you have the correct orientation or firing order. And in this case, it's counterclockwise instead of clockwise. We'll probably put it, I always like to try to face the rotor button towards my number one. It's just the way that I was learned up, you know. So that's what we're going to do. Man, we're making progress here. We got it rotating. We got all the seeds emptied out, as you do, of course. We got this thing charging. There's that extension I was looking for. We got our TD seed, so let's go ahead and pull this lightning whirler out of here, because what we're going to be doing is actually switching to a one-wire Petronix ignition system. Yep, we're going to get rid of all of this garbly gook, whatnots, and things. Now, there is a conversion kit out there, but I'd rather just go straight to a simple one-wire and be done with it. Doesn't mean this is bad. Doesn't mean if you have the time and want to, you can make this work. Absolutely. I'm just in a position where this car is pretty darn nice, let's be honest. And we don't have to make big investments, like, for example, tires. So let's spend that money, well, less than a set of tires, and put a Petronics in this thing. It'll be a nice upgrade. And we'll never have to worry about ignition stuff or any of those woes again. And I'll show you guys how to convert this over to that. So before we yank this out of here, we have to make sure to measure our coil, not only to make sure that it actually works, but also does it meet the minimum primary resistance specification to install the Petronics distributor. We've got three options here. We'll have to replace that. I'd rather not. We'll have to wire and keep the resistor in line, or hopefully we can go around the resistor and wire it straight to the coil and the new lightning whirler. So normally I'd say flip her over to horseshoe mode. This one doesn't have one, but we're going to be measuring the primary coil, or primary winding, excuse me. There's two of them in here. One goes on the outside, one goes down the center. Primary is here, secondary is here. So we want to see a minimum of 0.6 and a maximum of 3.5. And if that's the case, we can wire it just like this. We just need 12 volts in, or as close as we can get. Otherwise, we have to run that wire all the way back and feed it through the resistor, which is way over there in this particular case. So let me measure this, see what we got. I think I finally figured out this meter. I got a horseshoe on the screen, so that's probably good. So we're just going to go across these two. Boom. 1.6, 1.7. I'm going to come off, come back on. 1.7, 1.6. One more time. 1.6, just out of curiosity. 14.2. All right, that's a good built coil. Nice, solid, tight windings. And we're within spec, so we can get rid of that resistor, which was my goal. We're reducing the amount of things that can fail in this ignition system now by getting rid of the points and that resistor. Now it should be easy peasy. We grab a 9/16, we'll yank that one out. Greasing it up. Grease it up. Running a little grease around here so this doesn't get frozen in the engine. We're going to run the springs that are in this. Didn't even look at the timing curve. You know, maybe someday down the road. Right now, can a guy just get it running, for Pete's sake? I got this turned a little bit more in the direction that I'd like to see. I think if I have this something like this, just like that. It's not perfect. We have clearance, and it's pointing off this way instead of right at the charging whirler. Drop the hold down back on. Now, ooh, the vacuum canister does hit that bracket. I may need to trim that if we're going to go swinging. Just swinging on the timing there. Speaking of which, I got to grab the cap now, figure out if I can line this up with a, you know, lightning rod shooter. Okay, so this goes on back here. Okay, so now I'm going to make a mark. I'm going to roll this back to about 12 degrees before top dead center. If I can even read this. I think mopar is like 10 though. Not really sure. Gonna bring it back. Right about there. Now all I gotta do is line the post up with the lightning whirler. Bam! Initial timing close enough to fire. And then we can dial it. Right about there. Right at the edge of that. How's that look? Pretty good? I mean, you could have ran like a straight edge on it or something. I don't have one nor the time. Well, I'm just saying if you want it to fire easier, it'll fire. Okay? It'll fire plenty fine, and then we'll figure it out. Right now I'm just taking the cap on and off 1,000 times to make sure that I can get this lined up correctly. I'm about ready to cut these heater hoses off and incinerate them. Sorry about that. Okay. So I know that I have a post right on here. Okay. Now, on your shot. Bam. Good enough for the girls we go with. You know what I mean? Close enough for now. Going in right there. Now we can lock the cap down. And get this wiring done first, I think. Then we'll worry about sparkulators, lightning hoses, all that stuff. Now that we got that stabbed in, we got to feed power over here to the ignition coil to get the old lightning whirler shooting lightning down to the sparkulators for our storm we're going to have later. That means we got to deal with this ballast resistor right here. And here we can see voltage coming in. You can tell by looking at it. And then voltage going out, which is going to go back over here to this wire that goes to the coil. Now this job is to regulate and in most cases reduce the voltage to the ignition coil. And the theory was, it creates longevity for the old lightning cam there. But with this system, we don't need it. So all we have to do is verify we have voltage here. We're just trying to eliminate having to troubleshoot later on. We know the coil is good. We got to make sure we're getting power to it. And then we got to tie these together. Now you can do that by just, use a wire nut from your house or twist them around, put some duct tape around it. But a cheap and easy way to do it that has secondary benefits is a switch. So I could just jam that right into here and I have an on, off, hidden security switch. So if this is off, even if we crank it, there's no power to the coil, dead. Sorry about the bright light over here. I guess open that window up so a guy can see what's going on here. Okay, we're going to fire this bad boy up again. Make sure we got reading. Okay, 12.7 there. Now let's check on our coil wire. Nothing right now. Flip the switch. $11.7, which is good enough for who it's for. So again, that switch over there, which is smoking. Oh, something else is smoking. Uh-oh. What is getting hot here? Talk to me. Tell me where it hurts. All right, I got some more wire hunting to do. Our smoke show isn't over, so probably one of the reasons this car ended up being parked, electrical gremlins. We replaced the one licorice wire, so obviously it's been doing this for a long, long time. But now we're going to have to keep chasing it, try to figure out what is going on with this. When power sits on it for an extended period of time, I'm going to run a body ground straight from the battery right up here. So I'm going to dig around for some wire, an O-ring, and a self-tapper. Let's see if that will help at all. I don't see one from the engine, so that could be it, hopefully. Body ground added here. Got the juice back on, just waiting. I'm going to see if it's existing or if it's when I flip that ignition switch on, then that'll let me know that I've got to go from here into the car, not from there to here. So far looking pretty good. Not seeing anything yet. We've got power over to here. Well, by golly, we might have it whipped. I'm just going to wait a minute. I don't want this thing to be flaming down the interstate especially since we're probably going to end up with a cardboard roof at some point. Just standing around. Well, it's been quite some time. Nothing on fire yet. So that's pretty good. Went and made a wobble pop, wet the back neck down. All seems well. So now we can continue on getting this ignition system wired up, which is actually really easy. So now all I got to do is just swing this to positive, positive to positive, sad cable over here. Boom. That is literally it. And this should shoot lightning out. We'll just have to get the sparklighters back in and make up some hoses. So before a guy runs the sparklighters back in, gonna seal up the valve covers here with this generic hardware I got when I was in town. You know, once I get both sides snugged up, then we'll go ahead and finish off this ignition system. We're getting really close to seeing if this thing will fire. Well, the guy went ahead and ran the lightning hoses. Looks like a mess. I'll clean that up once we hear it fire and I get all the twisting done that we need to do. Then we'll run some zip tie. You know, we'll run it to stuff like this, or I don't know. We'll figure it out a little bit later. Now, I think we're probably ready to go ahead and just prime this fuel make it happener. Twist this thing over and see if we can get it to bang off. If it makes some noise and it's not knocking like crazy, then we know it's worth the time and effort to continue to put, you know, belts. We can put some hoses on probably. This one's looking pretty crunchy, got some cuts in it. And keep working towards getting this thing moving under its own power for the first time in 32 years. Got some true fuel! Opposite of false. I don't know if I'm going to be able to land it in the vent here. I'm going to try. It would be nice if it fired, if it'd sit here and idle for a minute. The two-stroke oil in here will help lubricate the needle and seat as well, which after sitting this long is probably stuck. I don't have a Holley rebuild kit, unfortunately. I'm doing pretty good here. Okay. Whoa! That was way too much. Perfect. Just tested voltage there. We're good. I'm going to stand off to the side. It's in park, but just in case it wants to take off. We previously built oil pressure. Bring in the thunders. I think the idle circuit isn't very idly. Okay. Come on now. Come on. Oh, that starter. I don't think we have an accelerator pump. Huh. This is quite strange. I'm going to open the door, get some fresh air in here. Need to double check everything. See what's going on. This is really balking at me. I know the timing's set. So let me do some researches here, dig around a little bit, see if I can come up with a conclusion why this is not wanting to take off. Well, luckily the indestructible mopar starter destructed, so we've got no start action. I tried it 2 more times, and that's all she wrote. So now we got to try to find one of those out here and see if we could throw that in. Maybe I could just find one off a newer 318 or something like that. let this battery charge up while we wait. I confirmed everything else, timing, firing order, everything else. So now it's down to air and fuel essentially, but can't do anything else until I get this thing spinning again. Also, all this is coming out of the pipes. I wonder if those are plugged. That would be a big part of our issue. The exhaust gases can't escape. You gotta remember this is just an air pump. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on that as well. Well, the guy's got this Wang Li thing here. I don't know, it's a newer style. It's a popular upgrade to these Dying Dolphin starters, I guess. Hopefully it fits. Got to get this bad boy out that's dumping oil out of it. And get to spinning on this thing again. Hopefully we can get it fired today. Old rig out. Here's the new going to town unit. Had to put a new fitting on here. Muzzle while we're down here. We don't want to be messing with this. But I've done this before. I can't remember what vehicle it was. Bleep bloop it down below. Beep boop. If you remember what it was. But anywho's, let me get this up in here. Bolt it up again. Mopar or no car? Well, give me sandals then. This is the ear to the new starter. Snap right off. So, what are the chances this small town 75 hours from here has 2 starters? Nope. Well, see you in 14 days, I guess. Going to Sheridan or something. Well, back from town, I did find another one here, and basically the secret sauce is early 90s Dodge Dakota 318, pretty much. And I got to thinking here, we got to figure out why this happened. I don't like just spraying the parts guns at things. Something breaks and you go, you throw some. By the way, that happens, and it happens a lot. Don't get discouraged. Something happens with your project, keep your head down and your chin up at the same time somehow. Keep your feet moving, and you'll get there. You'll get some work done, okay? Anyway, I took the old one in, obviously for a core. Saved a little money there, but then I got to thinking, I said, hand me a mic. Let's check this out. So I mic'd the old one, this one, and this one. And where we ended up is this is larger than the older one. This is smaller than the older, and older being the original. And you can see these marks on here. What had happened is this casting is poor. It would not fit into the bell housing all the way. It would seat, but it wouldn't suck all the way in. So when I torqued that bolt down, boop, there went the ear. Now this one is smaller than this one because we already measured it, so should not have that issue once again. And we'll throw this one in. Unfortunately, this one's, other than parts, pretty much junk. I'll just throw it in the trunk. Just in case, 72 years from now, we need starter parts. You know what I mean? Well, fellers, it's in. Had to do some wallering, some hogging, some fabricationals, but it's in there. You can see this is that provision I was talking about up in there. It's got to sit right in that case. And it's tight up in here, but I think it's going to work. Fingers crossed. By the Hoon way, had the starter out, and there was these numbers up in my teeth. 460, whatever, 530-40-11. I Google webbed that because I was not familiar with that. And with my limited interweb capabilities, I was able to decipher that, and lo and behold, this is a late 70s 400 Mopar, which I guess is an oddity or very hard to find. Not a 383. So now I'm really curious. I should have looked at the heads closer just to see if those were mashed up or something like that, but don't bother me none. I like unique stuff. Now we got a unique car with a unique 400 in it and a starter to a Dodge Dakota. Okay, so let's drop this back down. Actually, I got to get the inspection cover on. We'll drop it back down, and let's hook the lone wolf up again, see if we can get this thing to crank over. Still trying to get this thing to fire off. We got 42 pounds of seeds out of the exhaust. I'm pretty close to cutting the mufflers off this thing. If we can't get airflow out, we can't get airflow in. It's just an air pump, so we got to keep that in mind too. But I would sure like to hear this thing run before the sun goes down. We got about 50 minutes, looks like. Okay. There we go. We're back in business. So I'm thinking I got a lot of slop in this timing chain. I've double checked this 38 times. But let's go ahead and hook a light up to this thing and see what that tells us in terms of timing. And it sounds like I got 1 or 2 down holes right now, to be honest. But there could be seeds hanging open or all sorts of stuff going on right now. And I want to make sure I have the timing absolutely dialed before I start monkeying with the fool. Or it becomes a seesaw horse thing. You know, you never know what you're going to get. Well, guys, I was right on the money with timing. Hooked up the timing light. It's laying over there. And I dialed it back to 10. It just seemed like it wasn't getting enough fuel. So I pulled this off. Boom, we had vacuum. Checked this out. Then I was like, wait a minute. This Holly doesn't have the big full manifold port up here. And I got the feeling in the back. Well, lo and behold, she's wide open. Massive, massive vacuum leak. It's going to be that simple. So Jason's rooting around in his other shop right now. He's going to find me a cap for that. And this thing should, I can't snap left-handed or in gloves. Should fire right off. So I'm going to hook the vacuum advance back up. I had this disconnected so we can check the timing there. Fill the bowls, and it should fire and idle. Excited to hear this thing run. At least we built a bunch of oil pressure, huh? I know sometimes you guys, you know, why are you checking that again? We've seen you do that 100 times. Sometimes little things will just bite, get up and bite you, you know? So cross your Z's and dot your T's. Do all that stuff. Sometimes it's the smallest darn things that'll keep these rigs off the road. I'm also going to go ahead and check and make sure this fuel make it happener is actually fully seated against the intake. I never checked that. I don't know who put this Holly on. I know Jason didn't. It could just be plopped on. Going to go through and double check everything now, because now it's like, well, what else isn't correct or just sitting there? You know what I mean? This ought to be perfect. Slap this on back here. And I'm going to, now I have questions, so let's double check. The carb stud nuts. That one's tight. That one's loose. That one's tight. That one's tight. All right. This does not have 4-corner idle adjustments, so we're going to do front bowl only. Okay, bring the thunder. I got the only starter left in this county, so I better be a little careful here. No pump. There's no way it's pulling that much fuel. There's fuel in the bowl, I can hear it. No squirters on this at all. The carburetor needs rebuilt. Time of death, whatever it is. Okay, so here's the deal. We know we have timing set right. We know we have spark, obviously. We know we have compression, at least, 58.97% compression-ish through here. Air and fuel mixture is going to be the next thing. I thought for sure, I would have bet my left boot we had her with a vacuum leak, but there's obviously some serious other issues going on with this Holly. Now, I could tear it apart, blow everything out, put it back together, and hope for the best, but I know right now I need accelerator pumps, and I just don't have any of that equipment. I did bring 3 Fuel Make It Happener rebuild kits, none of which this has. I didn't know it had a Holly. I did, however, bring a remanufactured El Cheapo Carter. So this has been gone through. As you can see, it's been tumbled. It's got new parts in it. It's probably junk, but maybe slightly better-ish than that. This is cut off from there for our fuel inlet. So I'm going to take that off really quick, throw this guy on, prime this up, and we'll try her once again. And this does not have the rear vacuum that needs to be plugged off. There you can see the Carter AFB. Looks a lot like the Edelbrookens. Wink, wink, wink. So unfortunately, this Carter is not dual drilled. See this right here? So it's not going to fit on that. But Jason and his buddy came in clutch with this Holly, and that is a vacuum secondary, and obviously it will bolt up as the other one was also a Holly. We're going to have to do something with the fuel log here. I'm just going to take it off for now. We'll probably end up making something custom. I just cut these off and make some sort of T or something like that. We'll figure that out down the road. Just got to get this thing idling. So let me throw this one on, and that'll help big time. Also found this plate in against the manifold. That was most likely an air leak as well. So we're getting there. Just having to double check a few things, make a pile of Fuel Make It Happeners, but she shall run tonight. Well, we're back to the Holly. This one's slightly shinier, and I am out of fuel in this can. That was way too much. That's perfect. Okay, here we go. Better-ish. Boy. We got some mystery fuel out of a jug over here. Knowing Jason, it's probably C16 or something. All right, we got squirters now. That's a huge help. There we go. Yes. All right. Got oil pressure. We've been cranking on it so much. Haha. Finally, it's a runner. Sounded pretty good. Now, the game is how many seeds and oats did it blow out the back? It's probably a lot. I think I heard him hitting the wall back there. So I'm going to go on a limb and say that this mouse poison did not work. Here's why. Yeah, there it is, all of it, along with the rest of the mouse house. I'm going to say this is kind of like a quadplex, not quite apartment style, but it's up there. Multifamily for sure. Okay, let's open the door, get some fresh air in here. I got to sweep this up. But the dual pipes are dual piping, and it's alive. Of course, we know it has oil pressure. We've been cranking on it forever. And it sounded pretty good. Not too bad at all. Now we've got to work on fuel delivery. So now the next big challenge after I get things cleaned up and some tools back and organized is, can we get fuel pulling from the rear tank? Because we're going to need that capacity for sure. I might go ahead and pop the belts on here really quick. I also threw on a upper radiator hose there while we was waiting on that fuel make it happener. But that was definitely the issue. All right, time to throw some fuel in this thing. Oh, it's got a rag for a gas cap, that's approved. I must have worked on this thing at some point. Got the C-body blues here. You can't just dump it in. 90% of this is gonna go on the floor, which will help me clean the rat poisoning, I guess. So let's see if we can angle this in. Just gonna go for it here. Pickup tube's probably plugged, pickup screen's probably plugged. We'll have to drop the tank at some point tonight, but you want a bunch of extra weight in it, so it's easier. No, I don't have any fuel tank parts, so this could get interesting. We could also just take it out, throw it in the trunk, run a rubber hose through it, find a hole somewhere in the top, feed it to the front, and that could work too, but we'll see. Oh, there's so much gas everywhere. I feel like I'm doing the ice luge or whatever it is where you push the blocks on the, is that what it's called? Luging? Lunging? You know where they sweep and push the rock? You know what I'm talking about? It's worth a Google. Oh no! Curling. The curl stance. Smell like gas for 3 months. Oh. Now, we shall try to idle it again. See if it'll pull fuel. We can only idle it for about 6 minutes and 14 seconds before we're going to need ice cube juice for the water heater here and a water pump. Still haven't put the belt on because I'm lazy. I'm more anxious about the fuel tank working. All right. Hits! Don't worry about any of that. I need to idle it up 490 RPM. Up there. Okay. Idle mixture screws. That screwdriver's too big. That one's also too big. They're a littler. Still not pulling fuel, so that's pretty good. There is a 700-gallon air compressor in here, so I feel like if we need to blow backwards through this line, we got it covered. Okay. Still nothing. It's sounding better. It's coming around. It's got to get the cobwebs and the birdseed blowing out of it still, you know. So now I'm going to pour fuel backwards into the pump. That diaphragm is probably drier than Bob Barker's back, so we got to bring it around, you know. Let this soak in there a little bit. Try to avoid having to put a pump in. Well, that's happening. I need a refill. Well, let this soak in. Now I'm going to take wind and blow it in this line, which goes into the frame rail, back to the tank, and make sure that I can hear bubbles back there and that this isn't blocked up, and or we may be freeing a blockage. We'll just have to listen and see. Easy. Not hearing anything. Yeah, she stopped up solid. Haha, weird. Here we are again. Been here 419 and a half times. So, like predicted, there's some blockage going back to the tank. Extremely unlikely it's between here and the connection in the tank. In fact, it's never happened to me before, other than a few times that it's been broken. There's a line that dips in the tank that looks similar to this. And what ends up happening when that old gas sits in there forever and then eventually dissipates or evaporates is all of the hard materials, sediments stay in this tube and turn into a hard, almost like cork-like consistency, and it won't suck or push through the tube. The only fix is to really pull it out, snap that tube off, braze another one on. Sometimes if you can find a copper coat hanger, they virtually don't exist anymore, you can ram that through with enough carb cleaner and earth ghost juice or paint thinner or something like that, and clean it up enough to reuse, which that's the route we're gonna have to go because I don't have any parts for the fuel system at the moment. So I'm gonna piddle with that a little bit tonight, see if I get the tank down, but it is getting late and my earth pounders are barking at me, something fierce. But I'll at least get it up in the air, procrastinate, stare at it for a little while, and then maybe do something. Well, guy got really lucky. The fuel sender was on the back side of the tank here, and I was able to get it out without dropping the tank. Got some very varnished fuel out of here, but that's just fuel that's been sitting in the line. So then I took the air hose and hit it, and sure enough, she was plugged. So now I'm over here, and I'm going to be working on this. So we're going to take off this old screen. And if I break this, see that stuff in there? That's going to be in this tube right here. So I'm going to take some welding wire, some brake clean and carb cleaner, and just work this thing and try to get this freed up. And then I just got to replace this rubber line right there going onto the fuel line that goes up to the pump, and I'll go ahead and blow that out and clean it while it's free. There's nothing hooked on either end. And then we should be able to pull fuel from the tank. This will take a little while though. There's all the crud. And now we're good. And it only took one injury. I jammed this wire about an inch straight down the front of my finger. Pretty good one. Now we can jam this thing back in. We're gonna get fuel. Okay, the cleaned sending unit is back in the tank. That's plugged in with the new chunk of line. Blew the line out with the air. Varnish and stuff came out here, but we had good flow. Primed the pump again, hook that back up. Now we'll fill the carb bowl once again, fire this thing up and let it idle. And if we can see any sort of fuel being pumped from the tank, that is a massive victory. Albeit we might have to carry a whole suitcase of 33003 filters, but we need the capacity. Every road trip we've done the last month seems like we're stabbing fuel line in the jugs next to us. Sure be nice to have a fuel tank. Okay, here we go. Fuel. very varnishy. Ha ha ha! Victory! Bowl level's already set. This came off a running truck, so I think the floats are going to be good. Timing sounds good. We got her. She's dialed. Now we just need to get the water whirler going and put some ice cube juice in it. All of that stuff. But that is going to be tomorrow morning. It's been quite a day. It's been a successful day. It's running after 32 years, pulling fuel from its own tank. Tomorrow we've got oil change, filter change. We got to put some coolant in this, see what leaks, see if the head gaskets come around. Change the lower rad hose, put belts on it, see if it's charging. Transmission, there's still a ton to do. Hopefully by the end of the day we can roll this thing out for the little car show going on here. That'd be a whole lot of fun. And the morning after that, it would sure be nice if we can pull out and hit the road. We got 1,600 miles. All right, we'll see you guys in the morning. Well, good morning. 69er, early 10 o'clock. Fresh cup of brew here. Long day yesterday night, but productive. Keeps us on track, okay? I want to make it home in 3 days if possible. That's 533.33 miles a day. That's pushing it. That's pushing it at my daily driver for me personally. But we can expect issues. So this is going to be pretty tough. Reason being is, yeah, you guessed it. I trade suitcases out, see the family for 8 minutes, and go straight to another revival. So today, I'd like to get this thing running and driving under its own power, and ideally leave tomorrow. I think I'm going to start by lifting this thing up. Just change the oil quick, put a new filter in it, cross that off the list. Then we're going to keep moving. We got belts and hoses and ice cube juice, and we got to see if it's charging and all of that stuff. But it runs, and we got fuel from the tank, as I explained last night. That's a big victory. So let's get this thing in the air and get cracking. Folgers, not bad. Oh, oil baling coming down hot. Oil. Oh, okay. Yeah, looks fine. No big chunks. We'll take it. Time to fill the engine oils. Boy, I got a mess I gotta clean. There we go. There's always a big argument on engine oil. But here's the fact of the matter, fellers. Let's take this rig for example. It's a 65. Any oil you grab is going to be better than what they had in 65. Period. Also, any oil you grab is completely built differently than it was in 65. Personally, I prefer something with high zinc and phosphorus. And you can look at the ppm on their data sheets. This time I'm using Valvoline VR1. It's specifically formulated for classic cars, and what that means is it's good for flat tappet cams. It's got all the minerals and vitamins a guy could need. We're not taking any chances, especially since I saw one of those push rods not really push rodding. We want to make sure we're giving this its best fighting chance, because we are going to be blasting this thing down the road. Hopefully it's got highway gears. I was just thinking, wouldn't that be something if this had like a mid-3 series? Ugh. Or high? I don't know, I guess we'll find out. But anyway, if you're curious about your engine oil is where I was going, just Google the data sheet, and it's public information, and it'll tell you if it has any zinc or phosphorus in it, and I could tell you there are very, very few that do. VR1 is a good one. Rotella T4 has to be T4, not T5 or T6. Letting the oil drain out the funnel there. I'm gonna wrestle on the charging whirler belt here. Yeah. That seems pretty good. Yep. You want to go till your back pops, if possible, or get a 17-foot bar in here and just bend all of the brackets around. That's how you know it's tight. There we go. I'm gonna get a G out of it. Pretty close. Now, I had to get 2 belts for the power steering because Mopar. Apparently they have 2 different pulley sizes for whatever reason. So let's see which one is gonna work. And then we'll return the other one. I'm gonna guess this one. Firster, sir. And we'll go from there. Got to put the part numbers forward, fellers. You can hack the rest of the car. Self-tappers and everything. But put your part numbers forward on your belts. Okay? Alright, glad we agree. I think it's the other one. What I was showing you is the 9142 is the wrong belt. I definitely knew it was the 9435. There we go. Now can we get this to squeal in? Alright. I got beltage. Starting to look like a full motor here. Some say that's not a motor, that's an engine. Well, guess what? I call it motor oil. And there's motor mounts on it. So riddle me that. Oh yeah, that should squeal pretty good. Okay, so let's fire this rig back up again. And I just want to let it sit here and idle and eat. So everything can come back around. And we're going to add some coolant to it, check for leaks, see if the thermostat opens, see if the head gasket's head gasket. Hopefully we're not making any milkshake. Don't need any boys in the yard around here. And while it's warming up, I'm going to work on the throttle linkage, return spring, all of that stuff. And then we'll check the condition of the fuel filter. It's very varnished, but hopefully we're not pulling chunks. Varnish doesn't bother me as much because, you know, we'll dilute that enough over time. Anyway, cold start. Wow. That was pretty good. 3 more shots. Idle it up a little bit. There we go. Now we'll let it chew and bite. It's not that bad. Did you know the 400 has a slightly larger bore than the 440? Yep. Got to see if the thermostat will open. Did pull some springs out of the inlet from the rotten top rad hose. But we'll see. This might be officially the longest it's ran since we got it. Well, not so good news. I was letting this run, waiting for the thermostat to open. Stepped away for a minute doing some work on the digital computer box, and kaboom! And it looks like it's leaking right out of the cores. Tank doesn't look to be leaking. I shut it off because it was just pouring out. So that's a big concern. I gotta put my thinking cap on here because there is no way any parts store in 300 square miles has that. This could get interesting. So I called the 2 stores within a tank of gas in the old C10. No, not even close. Some B bodies will fit. Then I thought, well, maybe I'll just go down to the store and try to find anything. We'll go to a Honda Suzuki or, whatever, try to make it work. But then I just text Jason, because, he builds hot rods and fast cars, and said, do you have a guy that can fix a radiator? And about 20 minutes later, he said, pull it out. So I think I'm going on a road trip somewhere. I don't know where. I don't know how long it's going to take. But let's get this radiator out because we are going absolutely nowhere without it. Forget about the brakes. We can't even keep the thing cool. We're a dead duck in a pond, or whatever that saying is. So anyway, I'm going to pull this out quick and figure out where we're going. Well, rad's out. Jason swung back in here, grabbed it, and took off. And I said, can I go with you? Meet these guys, pay them, thank them. And he said, they're just a good friend that doesn't actually do it for a business. They just help Jason out. And he says, he's got it. He'll go take care of it, and I can keep working. So thankful for that dude. He's just the salt of the earth. And it's not because we're friends. I mean, he'll give the shirt off his back for anybody. You should see him at drag and drive events. He's helping everyone. And he's got his own big race program. But that's awesome. That's getting taken care of. The mounts on the side of the tanks had also separated, and it needs flushed terribly bad anyway. So blessing in disguise, maybe? Not sure. I don't know. Anywhoos, let's check the brake pedal out because that's my favorite. Brakes. No. Definitely not. Master cylinder is completely locked up. Here's my surprise face. Well, got to take that off, get that replaced, bleed that, and then we'll start on the rest of the brakes, I guess. Well, we could sit here and horse around with this one and try to get it unfrozen, but there's a piston that actuates inside of that master cylinder that has seals. And 99.4% of the time, if you break those free, you score those seals and you're not going to build adequate pressure to run your brake system. You might temporarily, but if you get a firm pedal, it's going to bleed off. I did send one ahead. Not that hard to find, actually, surprisingly. So I have a new one, so let's go ahead and yank this one off, put the new one on, and it had a big sticker in it that said, don't bench bleed this. Okay. Mopar Life, LYFE. It's just a hydraulic system, but I guess we'll put it on, plug it in, fill it full of fluid, jam the pedal, and once I get enough fluid into the lines, I might just try to gravity bleed it. I'm here all alone, so you know how that goes. Unless I could find something to jam between the seat and the pedal. Oh wait, I have a nice seat though for the first time in my life. I don't want to rip the seat. Anyways, we'll figure it out. Let's get the new one on. Here's a new master cylinder. Same thing, single pot of death. So I got some new information hanging out last night, chewing on the fat. There used to be a prison, I guess, somewhere around these parts that had an auto body thing for like trustees. Like some of them farmed, some of them did woodwork, and they had an auto body thing way back in the day. And I guess that's where this was painted. So this was painted by Wyoming state prisoners. Pretty interesting. I don't think I've ever had that in my life. They did a pretty decent job. And good on them for trying to learn a trade and be prepared for life when they get out, you know. Just drop that nut, never see that again, pretty important. Okay, and get the line hooked up. There we go. So I've been in here slowly working the pedal for probably 25 minutes now. And look, haven't even cracked a bleeder yet. So we're building pressure, and I'm holding it at different stages. And what's happening is air bubbles are working the way out of the master cylinder. I'll go farther, hold it, let the air bubbles come out, release, and then bubbles will come out. And I've been going back and forth, doing this, and checking the master cylinder here. Right now it's completely uneventful. Initially there was a lot of air coming out. So we're pretty much to the point where I could top off the pot now, and the guy's gonna snap off a bleeder, beep, and just let it drip out, gravity bleed. And that's going to allow the rest of the air to come out of that line, and then I'll move to each wheel individually, doing one at a time. Gotta be super patient, but it is possible to bleed on your brakes all by your lonesome and get a pretty good result. Well, we are on the way to town in the C10. Jason came back and said we're basically waiting. It's Friday afternoon. These guys are busy. We may or may not get a repaired rad from them, so I need to start working on plan B, C, D, and F. That's a nice looking horse. And really tough to do. The only place you can really search by inlet outlet is O'Reilly Auto Parts, to be honest. Other places, they just stare at you and say, is it four-wheel drive and what color is it? So I'm going to go to O'Reilly. We'll plug in some numbers here. About 1.5 inches on the top, 1 3/4, 2 inches on the bottom. Not really worried about offset. We can make something there if we need to, but I just need to have the actual rad. Even if I got to baling twine this thing in, I need to get home. So, I don't know. Let's see if we can figure something out. I am enjoying driving this truck, I'm going to be honest. Okay, many moments later, I made it back to the house. I have what might work, and it sounds weird because it's to a 2006 Jeep Liberty, and you're thinking right now that's completely incorrect because the inlet and the outlet are on the wrong sides and the transmission coolers are on the passenger side, not the bottom, but I have a resolution for that. So here's how this normally sits. By the way, I went through every single radiator in stock at O'Reilly, literally, and this is how this normally sits. But why couldn't a guy boop, put it on end like that? Now we have 1 3/4 on the bottom, 1.5 inches on the top, overflow on the top. The only downside is the drains up here, but who cares about that? That also moves our transmission coolers to the bottom, and I was able to get the correct fitting to 3/8 barb down here. So I think we're going to be able to cobble this together. Jason's going to go get a body saw, and we're going to hack this crazy mount thing off. Probably even the bottom one, not needed, and we need the hood clearance. I don't think it's going to care whether the water is falling down, which is the way it originally was, versus horizontally. All it's doing is just dissipating heat. So it should work. At least that's what I'm going to say. So the first thing a guy's going to do is just put some line on here and clamps. It's easiest to get to right now, and then we'll put the fittings on the bottom of the transmission, get all that prepped. Then we'll cut the crazy mounts off of that thing. Then I'm going to set it in and strap it in with ratchet straps, of course. What else? Then once we get the lower hose connected, we're off and running. Never seen a death wheel as a 14-inch blade before. Ha! C-body radiator. Okay. Ha! Look at that. There's a 3% chance the hood might close. I think that Harrison was a little higher actually. We'll be all right. Get the lower rod on. Boom, slid right on. Want a little flex in there so it wears a hole in the tank.
That's getting pretty serious already.
Oh, that ain't going anywhere. I just need to bend the snot out of the. Actually, why don't I bring the car up? Do it from the bottom. Look at this, professionally installed. Transcooler's in. They got the big old zip ties, and I was able to get this bleeder cracked. Gonna let that drip for a couple more minutes, and then we'll move to the rear. Do the same thing, and hopefully we have brakes, and we should be able to pull this outside and fill it with water as soon as I can get the upper rad situation, the hose figured out. No idea what this radiator hose is to. I just saw it hanging on the wall, and I knew I needed a 90 over and in. And look at this. I don't think I could have made it better myself. I might cannibalize a Flexolite bendy hose and turn the spring into this just so this doesn't collapse, or put an extra hose clamp on here to hold it into round so we can keep this thing from cavitating. But boom, radiator in. I believe the brakes might do brake things. Getting really close to firing this back up and wheeling it outside, hit it with a garden hose, which I guess I got to do here because there is no filler on this one. This would have been filled from a third-party reservoir over there. But okay, so gonna do a quick brake check. If it slows the car, gonna head outside and use the hose, and then I'll top it off with antifreeze. I should put the brake master cover on though if it does have brakes. Never mind, I need to hook up my throttle linkage. That'd be pretty good. I definitely need that. Okay. All right, we're back. Got throttle. Pretty quiet glass backs, actually. Got to pump the pedal a few times since we bled it. I ain't got no pedal now. We had a hard, firm pedal earlier. It's charging. I don't think I'd dare shoot out of here. Do you mind jumping in, pumping? Oh, we got a trans leak. Dang it. I'll get to that in a minute. I want to do like 5 and hold. All right, go ahead. Okay, go again. Okay, again. Okay, again. Nothing. Why would that change? It just sat here and dripped fluid. Well, Jason jumped in the Polara we're gonna call it, because it runs, then it doesn't. Then it's good, then it's mad, then it's fine, then it's cranky. So he jumped in the Polara and was pumping the pedal for me, and I was trying to crack him because we lost the pedal magically, and boom, rear brake line blew up. So that'll be really fun. Look at Jason hanging off the lift, pumping brakes, adding fluid. It might not be a leak. Actually, we know it's not. I was a dum-dum and left this bleeder open, and it just shot across. Rears are pretty good. We're trying to bleed the front now. Whoa. Got something leaking up front. Unless it's coming out of the reservoir. Ah! I got a little fluid out. One more time. Okay. All right, temp 79. Getting it out of the garage. Look at that, Jason. So many brakes, it's gonna break my mullet off. Boy, it's kind of windy without the top. It moves under its own power for the first time in over 3 decades. Got it outside, gonna fill it up with the hose. And then we gotta let it bake and cook and do the things. It's got drive, it's got reverse. Things are looking up. We could leave tomorrow with our Jeep Radiator and our Dodge Dakota starter. Still Mopar. Well, a guy just crawled it out on the road. Filled up the power steering. Horn don't work. Let's see if we can make it to town. It is a very, very windy day. Kind of chilly. Top up, we're good to go. We got to get some fresh gas in this thing and wash it for the car show. Boy, it's running really, really bad right now. Missing pretty violently, but I'm pretty sure, I'm confident the bad gas isn't helping that. So we're going to continue to push on. Might get a full tank of fresh gas, it'll really dilute that down, and hopefully it's going to start running better. Speedometer works. I have confidence the fuel gauge might work. I should have ohmed that out when we had the tank out. Staying cool right in the middle. It's charging. Oil pressure lights off. Things are looking up. Well, we made it to the car wash. Got a full tank of gas. It does leak at the filler neck. Gas gauge is working, but it's choppy. Maybe that'll get better. So let's go ahead and wash this thing. We'll go right next door to O'Reilly, get an air cleaner and try to get a gas cap for this thing. Head back to the ranch, have us a barbecue and car show. Oh, look at the wrenches. They rode. Huh. Well, guy made her back to the shop here. It's running rough, I gotta be honest. It barely goes 55. Had a hard time pulling the hill. We don't got an option though. It should hopefully come around. They usually do. Rings are varnished up. Who knows what the valves look like. Those sparkulators could be full of birdseed. hard to say, but look, cleaned up nice. And I started packing and getting everything ready. So here's all my extra junk and parts that Jason had and stuff like that. And I went ahead and took the time and I installed this trim because I needed to transport it anyway and I don't want it to get bent up. So I went ahead and just put it on. Now we don't have any missing trim. I think I'm gonna go ahead and see what it's gonna take to get this top frame down so it doesn't look so goofy, but if it starts snowing or raining, might have to get that up in a hurry and try to figure out something temporary. So working on this top, Jason came over to deliver a wobble pop. I was having him help me and we were struggling with this. We finally found this cylinder back here and we thought, well, maybe it's vacuum or there's a knob to release the shock or something. And we were pulling on all the levers. And then I hit this one. Watch this. I can't bend my arm. Power top. That works. Pretty incredible. There, now we won't get this snagged on anything. It wasn't locking right and I just didn't want the wind to catch it or something like that and twist all this up because we definitely want to try to get a top on this at some point. But now we got the trim on and the top down, let's go back here into the car show and relax a little bit. Well, good morning. Next day, sun just came up basically. Packing up the car, getting ready to leave. Last night was a blast. We had like 25 to 30 cars and a few kept cycling in and out. It was a lot of fun to get to meet a lot of great people here. Big thanks to Jason once again for putting that on, and huge thanks for storing this car for me and putting me up here and feeding me and running around and helping. Couldn't have done this without you, so I appreciate it. We are going to hit the road officially. It's about 40 degrees out this morning, and cold doesn't really bother me, but at a certain point, there's this thing that kicks in called hypothermia. Going to have to manage that. At 40 plus, your speed, you get a thing called wind chill. It's going to be below zero. So after an extended period of time, that is a concern. So I'm probably going to have to stop somewhere, get a knit hat, some gloves, things like that. But I'm going to manage as far as I can or as long as I can. Got to stop in the town, get the gas cap I bought, fill our 5-gallon jug just in case, and then we're going to hit the road. Well, guy ripped into town quick, filled my 5-gallon jug, stopped at the parts store, took the rag out, put a gas cap in. That's pretty good. My bottom torso is doing okay, but from my hip to my earlobes, it's colder than an ex-wife. Parts store didn't have any knit hats or anything. My mullet's freezing. But well, let's try to find somewhere along the way, or it'll warm up enough, I'll be just fine. So 1,600 plus miles, let's get it. got some miles ticked off. I made it to a little place called Three Forks Muddy Cup or something like that. This is basically the Oregon Trail. Independence Rock is down the road. A lot of history, a lot of cool stuff. Gajillion people came through here by wagon and horse and mule and oxen, and it's really cool. Car's doing okay. Steering's tighter than I thought it would be. Have a brake issue. The brake booster is leaking, so once that loses vacuum, I have no brakes. So then I have to like play with the throttle to build vacuum, and then I'll have brakes. I also have something going on with the passenger side right front drum. I don't know, you hit the brake and it shatters and shakes and does all this stuff, but we're gonna forget all of that. I only put 3/4 tank in this time so it doesn't leak. Trying to figure out the fuel mileage. I don't know. We're gonna keep on going. See, this time I guess I have a point. So we'll go fill up again. I'm guessing that's probably getting 9 to 10 miles to the gallon. Hard to say. Can barely feel my hands or my ears. And one thing I didn't think about till now, as the sun's coming out, I'm probably gonna have to get sunscreen, which is weird. But anyway, let's keep on rocking. Check that out. Well, I'm on my 3rd or 4th fuel stop today. Car's still running good. Got a little hot going through this town. I stopped to get some tools. I realized all I had was my Leatherman. Got some hydrationalizationals, phone charger for my digital pocket computer device so that I could hook into the gyps up in the clouds. And then I got some of this I don't know. Jessica, help me! I don't know if you spray it on your hand and then you wipe your hand on your face, or you just... Not really sure, but I'm gonna get burned out here, I believe. This is the first time I've seen the sun in 14 years. But anywho, we're making our way. I want to get all the way through Wyoming today, or into Nebraska. Then tomorrow, I want to get all the way across Nebraska, maybe into Missouri. And then maybe, if all goes well, knock on wood, 3rd day we can crawl this thing home. But let's just keep on trucking. Well, the guy swanged into Walmart here, filled up, and went inside and got a tarp and some plastic clampy thing. 16 pack for $8. I thought that was pretty good, you know. Looking at the weather, there's about a 60% chance it's going to rain this evening. Not really sure what the plan is, but I imagine it involves a tarp in some way, shape, or form. Pop the hood. We got valve covers leaking, oil coming out of the breather. We'll ignore all of that. There's a power steering leak. I topped that off with some power steering repair stuff that I had in the trunk. And the fuel filter, believe it or not, is clear. There's a tiny bit of sediment in it. That blew me away. I thought we'd be replacing those every stop, but the fuel looks really good. Car's starting to run a little bit better, you know, as the rings start coming back around, and the valve seats and all that. So far so good. We do have headlights, we do have taillights, so we're just gonna keep jamming. We're now in Nebraska, so I don't know how far we're gonna get, but we're gonna go till I can't keep my eyelids open, or it's pretty dark because I can't see. So let's see what happens first. Just snagged up a Motel 2.5. Shutting her down. About 14 hours today. We did great though. The Polara, I think we got 600 miles down. And I just started realizing I've stayed here before. In fact, it was with El Toro, Rocky Mountain Race Week, right there. We changed the oil and the transmission shift juice on it. But that was a great day. We met our goal. We can only hope we have as successful day tomorrow as we did today. Now here's the thing. Got to get my luggage out of here. We got to put the frame of the top up. We're going to look real good too. That's all right. We got to put a tarp on this thing because it is going to rain. And then I got to decide if I'm going to keep it for tomorrow or what we're going to do. It's going to be something else. Would have been nice if they put a motor on both sides. There we go. Now we can use this frame and clamp to it. Or at least that's my thought. Uh-oh. We hung up on something? Oh, we are. Seat, silly. Come on down. Okay. Let me work on this for a minute. See what I can come up with. Well, I mean, I probably could have went with the black top, but blue don't look that bad. So I got it rolled under the front here. It's clamped along here. This is obviously going to make a swimming pool run out of material. Hopefully it doesn't rain too much tonight and I could just address that tomorrow. If I get this done up right, we might be able to run down the road with this because it's supposed to rain all the way through the afternoon tomorrow, which means we're driving in it. But the biggest thing is I'm just trying to keep these seats dry. That interior's so darn cute. I don't want it to get too wet. It's gonna get wet, but hopefully not too wet. But whenever I get a motel, there's important things. Steak, gas, coffee. So I'm gonna walk next door, get a bite to eat, wet the old back neck down, get a couple hours of Z's. We're gonna be up bright and early, same thing, hit the road, try to cannonball, repeat day 2. Polara, this is a pretty awesome car, I gotta be honest. Well, it's about 5:30 in the morning. It is still raining. I see we'd have some big swimming pool issues. We're gonna wait. Looking at the radar, I think if we wait a couple more hours, it should pass, and then we can go down and clean that up and hopefully hit the road. Well, good morning. A couple hours later, it's raining like cats and kittens still. Got the old Vice Grip Garage raincoat on. If you guys ever need these, you can go over to vicegripgarage.com. There's a bunch of junk. I don't think it's going to save me today, though. This is going to be something else. I gambled and lost. The radar showed a gap it was supposed to develop. We could have shot down the interstate. But instead, it just recirculated, regenerated, and got bigger. So my Cherokee name is Warrior Black Cloud. So let's go see the damage. I see the roof's collapsed in. Hopefully the seat's somewhat dry. Got to figure out how to wrap this tarp up so, you know, we can get down the road without it just flailing like curtains. Felt like Richard last night, you know. Pacing the window, looking at the car because it's too shiny. It scares me. I don't want to get the seats wet. Hoping that Tommy doesn't do something like more M&Ms down the vent. I don't know. Let's get after it. So unfortunately, I think the trunk is going to get wet. These floors are so good. Roof might have held in. Yeah, so all the stuff in the trunk's going to get soaked. Let me get my digital bag in here. A little bit in the center, looks like. But last night I was thinking there's this bar here. I think I can wrap it around that and keep it together. So let me quick get this done before I get soaked to the bone because it's going to be cold today too. Headroom's a little limited in here, but if we're moving, I don't think it's going to do that. There we go. Now, try to make this more taut. This is going to be awfully noisy today. I might have to get some. Apparently they make headphones and they go right in your ear. Been in here for 30 seconds. Where's that coming through? Anyway, I gotta get cooking. Well, here's the guy's view for the day, I guess. I don't think these clamps are gonna hold. We'll see what happens. Prop the suitcase up in the back, try to give her some shape. It may be very slow, but this is better than no top. I'll tell you that much right now. Let's sneak across the road to the gas station, top this thing off, and we just gotta get moving. Keep the feet moving, as I always say. Cold start with no choke. There we go. Hopefully the Polara isn't cranky today. A guy does not mind breaking down at all, but breaking down in the rain, that is no fun. Well, the guy's all fueled up. Car seems to be running okay. Still charging. Definitely going to keep cool today. Yesterday, when it started getting warm finally in traffic, it got a little hot. It's a very small radiator and no shroud. But let's go ahead and jam this on the road. See what happens. Uh-oh. This just turned into a parachute. That ain't good. That is not going to last long. Breakfast. Hang in there. Doing about 50, and I think this is as fast as I can go without this ripping off. But it's dry in here, relatively. It leaks at the A-pillars. And it's not terribly loud. I got the heat on the defrost. It's pretty good. Okay, we gotta make a change. I tried to fold it under me because it broke free and was flapping. It is so viciously loud. I had underestimated that. It sounds like 15, 30, 30s being shot right here randomly, continuously. It's a lot. So I'm gonna try to fold it just from this bar up through here, wrap it around. It's a miracle that this frame is in good of shape as it is and that it works. So I don't want to bend this thing up. It was really shaking and getting after it. So let's make some changes here and see if we can make it better. Yeah. New setup. Of course, if I script it, this is probably going to tear through eventually, but we'll see what happens. The back seat stayed relatively dry with the tarp under my backside. So I think the rain is going over. So we just got to keep after it and hopefully we can keep this thing good. All right, let's try this, see what happens. Westbound lanes are closed. Unfortunately, I think there was a really bad accident up here, and we're at standstill traffic. The good news is, though, the storm, we've been sitting here so long, has now gone in front of us. I'm hoping that it goes north as well, and we might be out of it. Thank goodness, because I could not take any more of this flapping. I'm about deaf now. Maybe I should just take this off while we're sitting here. It's not a bad idea. There. That's a lot better. I think we're okay. I think we did fine. Just got the roof off. You know, the old Walmart convertible top. And then it immediately started raining. Not even on the radar. So I took the nearest exit. There was a tractor trailer that lit on fire out there. Looks like everyone's okay, thankfully. Set up 12.9 or 11T9. Got it wedged under here. I got the heat on the floor. Trying to dry my pants. I'm absolutely soaked from the waist down. The jacket's doing great on the top side. And it's got a hood too, so I can keep the old forehead awning dry. But we're filled up. She's running a little warm from idling here, but still charging. Starting to run better. Let's get some more miles down. Headed towards Omaha. Not really sure, probably an hour and a half. We'll be on the east side of Nebraska. Means we could probably get into Missouri a little bit later tonight. These sprayers are getting out of control now. Well, it's a good thing I just checked. We're actually not going through Omaha. I need to turn at Lincoln and start heading southeast. I would have added a bunch of time. Although, well, I don't know what the weather's doing. I guess I should pull up the radar again. I guess going southeast is probably the best way to get out of this stuff. It is sprinkling, drizzling again. The worst part is when semis pass me, right in the eyeball. Perfect. Another fuel stop here. Rain is chasing us down. Starting to sprinkle here again. Just got to run a little bit faster. Picking the speed up. Was running 60, 65. I'm going to try to hold it at 70. See if it heats up at all. I like to ease into these old cars instead of just, you know, laying them to the mat. Especially when they've been asleep so long. Been eyeing this Taco John's over there. But I think I'm going to wait. We don't have the time. I don't want this storm to get up over me, so let's keep on rolling. Maybe we can get to Kansas City tonight, and I'll just eat breakfast, lunch, dinner all at the same time. Got a front row parking spot over there. Well, we made it. Where are we at? Columbia Mo, I believe. Another 500-ish mile day. I think we're actually still on track. Long day, but shorter than yesterday. As soon as the sun started going down, I really dropped the hammer, fed her the onions, shoveled the coal, pulled the ears back. You know what I mean? Pinned the floor mat. I did all that stuff. And the car's running good. I am hearing either a exhaust manifold leak or lifters. It's hard to tell because I have a small leak in the roof. I'm going to guess lifters. We're probably using some oil, and there's a valve cover leak I got to look at tomorrow. But the rest of the car seems to be holding in there. We'll have to do some maintenance tomorrow, but are we going to make it a third day without big issues? Boy, that would be pretty nice. We got another 500-600 mile day. Well, I guess it would be 600 plus. Yeah, something like that for the push back. So I don't know, let's see what happens. I'm just gonna wrap the seat tonight just in case it sprinkles. Radar says it's clear, but you never know. Get a few hours of sleep, and I'll see you guys in just a handful of hours. Well, good morning. Hey, it did rain last night. Really glad I threw the old tarp up on the bench seat there. Albeit only half stayed, but that's the important half. Can the guys behind just stay dry today, is what I'm saying to you right now. Let me throw my bag in. Let's check the oil on this thing, and then we're gonna sneak it down to O'Reilly. It's right around the corner down here. One of the reasons I chose this here unit. The other is the gas station right there. So let's fill, get to O'Reilly. I'm gonna check the oil first, and we gotta check out this valve cover. It's getting pretty bad. Let's see what we got here. Best time to check them right away in the morning. Yeah, we're 2 quarts low. So that's gonna be hopefully the ticking issue. I don't think it's an exhaust manifold. And then you can see all the oil over here. It's getting pretty bad. I just didn't want to stop on the side of the road at night and tinker with this, but I believe it's coming out right here. So we could try to tighten it, but I'm pretty sure the gaskets in here are shot. I don't know. I know that my buddy Jason just reused these valve covers. They were on it. He cleaned them up and painted them, you know, shadowed them. But I don't know if he replaced the gaskets or not. They're rubber, so they're newer-ish, but I just don't know. By the way, did you see how I flipped this around backwards? I couldn't get it forward because of this mess. It's not ideal. This is a little close to the manifold, but we haven't vapor locked yet, so we're gonna just roll with that for now. This somehow is still working. Boy, it's still, oh no, I forgot to put a spring in here. It's full. Moving fluid right there. It'd be nice to get the other one back from that shop. We'll have to see how much shipping is. I heard back they're gonna have to sweat the whole top of the tank off, fix everything. I don't know, it might be cheaper just to buy a reman one or a new one for it, but I kind of want the original look. I don't want to put a shiny aluminum unless we spray her black or something, you know what I mean? But anywho, let's fire this thing up. I can't believe how good this car is doing. After 32 years off the road, we've got 1,000+ miles down. Let's crawl over to the parts store and snake oil this thing up. Cold start here. There we go. Gonna fix the choke on this when I get home. All it needs is 12 volt, you know, lightning powers to the thingy. Right now I just loosened it and twisted her all the way forward, which will just flip the choke straight up. So it's no choke essentially on an electric. But we were having, you know, there was wires getting licoricey and melty, and there was smoke letting out of the dash, and I just didn't want to start adding to it. And I also peeked around for the radio, and there's some melty wires hanging there too. So there's definitely something going on with the wiring, but we're gonna need a couple days to dig into that. We didn't have that before this trip, so we'll make her happen. Okay, this store does not, but the other one 5 miles down the road does. So let's swing over there and grab them. They got cork or rubber. I think I'm gonna have to go with rubber because these are those big machined units. You know what I mean? What in the devil? Huh. Got our gasket, some snake oil, and I got some Rain-X. So we can, might rain again today. So this is a not so fun one to get off, but let me pull this off quick. We're also going to test if I can find my lone wolf, see if that lifter is rotating and that push rod is rotating again. A little bit nervous about that. I believe I found the culprit. When I pulled the cover off, it broke right there. So I bet that was cracked, and it's just been running off of this. So now hopefully I can get all of that off without too much of a fight. Actually, before I do that, I'm gonna turn it over because it's gonna act like a lip in here, so we're not losing a bunch of oil. I'm gonna flip my ignition kill off, find the lone wolf. I'll take my Leatherman and make a scratch on here. I believe it was these two, and then see what happens. Okay, I scratched in some fresh marks. So we'll have that silver line there. Key off and ignition cut just to make sure. Ha! They are rotating now. That is great news. If you remember before, I think it was these two or these two, I can't remember, but they were not rotating. They were just sitting there. Now we're seeing it rotate. So that means the lifters are not getting smoked in this, which is fantastic news. That's a whole process. Probably a rebuild, because then you got a bunch of metal going through your bearings and everything else, but we're good there. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue getting this 700-degree gasket off of here, and apparently really tiny pieces. And we'll get the new one on. Oh, there we go. That's a good chunk. Keep coming. They usually get baked down by the manifold there. That's back on. We're just going to assume, you know, that leak is fixed now. If not, we'll just have to ignore it. Okay, now on to some snake oils. You got this because it says oil alone is not enough. Sure, I don't know. I'm just trying to thicken this stuff up even more, and then of course we'll put some more of the same VR1. This will be in my 2 quarts, and for not leaking, I don't think we're going to burn enough to have to put any more in the rest of the way back, but I guess you never know. You could tell this engine was never ran after it was painted. Now we're seeing heat patterns in it. This is, it's kind of weird, but anywho's. Dump a little bit of this in, then I'm gonna mix it so I could shake it so it goes down easier. Well, valve cover gasket replaced, just the one. She only needs what she needs, okay? Snake oiled, new oil rings installed quick. I think we're ready to rock. We're full on fuel. Let's jam this thing. I think we'll push her a little bit hard today, just like yesterday. Trying to make some good time. There is some scattered showers, but I don't think I'm gonna monkey with the top at all. Let's see if it'll three-peat. Another 500-600 mile day. That should crawl us home to South Central Tennessee. Fingers and toes crossed. Just added some more fuel. Got the tools broke out. I'm gonna adjust the accelerator pump on the old Holly here. Still got a little stumble off idle, and it actually quit coming off the interstate here. Oil leak is fixed, so that's good. I can't remember the size on this. Yeah, it is one bigger. But I'm basically just gonna tighten this down. So as we hit the throttle, see how loose this is? I'm going to tighten this up, so when we hit the throttle, see right there, there's no accelerator pump at all. It needs a shot of fuel coming off idle, and that should help it tremendously. All right, let's try it now. Oh yeah, there we go. Yep, not falling on its face. She is hot though. I got to get some wind in this thing quickly. Well, late last night, the Polara and a guy crawled into the shop here. We made it 1,611 miles with a car that's been sitting for 32 years. All said and done, the car did fantastic, and it has totally convinced me it's worth the time and money to go ahead and finish this thing up. The top, we got to get the cooling system addressed, go through some odds and ends. Electrical needs some work, but it's really not that bad, and it's going to be an awesome car in the fleet, to be honest. Now, you guys do me a favor. Statistically speaking, only 48% of you watching right now are subscribed to the channel. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no obligation. You just hit the subscribe button, and if you want, click the bell too, and then you're going to get a notification every single Friday when we have content like this coming out. You won't miss anything, and I sure would appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for watching. Appreciate you guys so very much, and we'll see you very, very soon. Daryl approves.